In 1992, Batman returned in cartoon form to television and was a huge hit. And when Marvel found out that Batman was a big hit, they wanted their own cartoon. And in 1994, they released Spider-Man, the animated series. The series would air on Fox Kid Network in November of 1994 and run until January 1998 for a total of 5 seasons, making up 65 episodes. I would sit here and tell you the story, but I think you know it. Peter Parker's a college student. He has a struggle between balancing being a superhero and problems in his real life, like dealing with his romantic love life when it comes to either Mary Jane or Felicity, or maybe maintaining his relationship with Harry Osborn, or keeping his teacher, Dr. Connors, happy with good grades. He also has to support Aunt May after the death of Uncle Ben, and he also has to have a job. And his job is being a freelance photographer for the Daily Bugle. There, he has to deal with an overpowering boss, J. Jonah Jameson. He still has his peers to deal with. Football star Flash Thompson. And then there was the scientist genius, Deborah Whitman, and research rival Michael Morbius. And if that's not enough, he had to fight supervillains that threatened New York City, like Kingpin, the Hobgoblin, Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin, and even Venom and Carnage. And along the way, he would even team up with some of the X-Men, and the Punisher, Blade, Doctor Strange, Daredevil, Iron Man, Captain America, and of course, the Fantastic Four. As you can see, this was an epic cartoon and a lot of fun. And being that Batman had a hit toy line thanks to Kenner, now under Hasbro, Marvel wanted the same for Spider-Man. And being that Marvel was owned by Toy Biz, what better company than to make Spider-Man the animated series toys? Now throughout the 90s and the early 2000s, they released over 260 figures that fall under the Spider-Man animated series umbrella. But we're just going to look at the basic series 1 through 7. And let's start with Series 1. There was the Red Devil himself, Carnage. The octopus of all octopuses, Dr. Octopus. The pumpkin bombing throwing Hobgoblin. The beautiful hair Smythe. And of course, jaw chopping action Venom. But you couldn't do a line without Spider-Man, so you had Spider-Man Web Racer and Spider-Man Web Shooter. For Series 2, you had 8 figures. There was an alien Spider Slayer, the big boss man himself, Kingpin, the man with the club, Kraven. There was even Lizard wearing a black shirt, or Lizard wearing a red shirt. There was Spider-Man's alter ego, Peter Parker, and Spider-Man with a parachute, and flying high was Vulture. For Series 3, 6 figures were released. Hobgoblin's daddy, the Green Goblin. One of the hardest figures to find at the time, Rhino. He was going for a lot of money on the secondary market. And then there was the Green Scorpion. And don't be shocked, they made Shocker. Spider-Man in the line was Spider Armor Spider-Man. He looked kind of like an Iron Man Spider-Man. He looked pretty cool. And probably the best one of the series was Spider-Man Superposable. This was a ball-jointed Spider-Man that you could pose in all kinds of scenarios. For Series 4, there was a villain that could be almost anything. He was a chameleon. And then there was Mysterio. And you could get him in dark green or light green. There was also a supervillain that looked more like something made up at Kmart, Prowler. And you could get Spider-Man in his black costume, or Spider-Man Night Shadow. Also released in the line was Spider-Man Web Glider. And last in the series was another release of Venom, this time without his mask. For Series 5, you had death metal rock star Morbius. And you had the Samuel L. Jackson inspired Nick Fury. And if you wanted a guy that's on the borderline between good and bad, you had Punisher. For the Spider-Man figures in Series 5, you had a battle-damaged Spider-Man. Spider-Man with 6 arms. And Spider-Man Spider Sense. In 1995, Series 6 hit stores with a new Carnage, Unleashed. And Man Spider. It's like Spider-Man, but backwards. And you had a Spider-Man mixed up with Doc Ock, Octo Spidey. You also had Spider-Man Web Cannon. And straight out of the Old West, Tombstone. The final series in the basic series was released in 1996. There you had a new Spider-Man, a totally armored Rhino, a Spider-Man 2099 with a white axe, and Spider-Man 2099 with a yellow axe. The only female in the line, Spider-Woman, was released. And another Venom came out. This one was Stealth in black. And Venom and Stealth clear. Ooh, a clear figure, don't you love it? But I would like to have seen more of the basic figures. Looks like they could have made some of his high school friends or some of his buddies or even his boss, someone that he can interact more with than just the bad guys. But overall, this is a great looking series. The figures are really well done for the time period, and if you're really into the Spider-Man universe, there's a lot of villains here that you never got as toys, at least not until the 90s. Some you read comic books about in the 80s, and you never ever thought you would see an action figure of them. Well, that's a quick look at the basic series 1 through 7 of Spider-Man, the animated series. Hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, if you like my content, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.